Hey folks, Mike Tango Whiskey here. I wanted to put this video out. It's going to be a little bit different. Most of my content so far has been prepping and preparedness and that kind of space, but I wanted to post a video that talked a little bit about another passion area of mine, and that is masculinity, fatherhood, being a husband. I've been married for over 25 years, and I want to share with you today the 5 secrets that have helped my wife and I stay married, stay relatively happy, and successful for the past quarter century. All right. So if you don't know it already from one of my other videos, I've been married for over 25 years. I have 8 children. They're all mine, all on purpose, all from the same woman, not Catholic, not Mormon. Those are usually the 5 questions I get right up front. Youngest is about 6. The oldest is about 23 at varying stages of development. 2 are gone, 1's about to leave, and I've got like 5 still in the house. But early on in my wife and I's marriage, we got some really, really solid advice. The person who told us about it referenced some studies and some research. This was like 25 years ago, but some research that had been done on couples that stayed together. These studies, what they did was they looked at couples when they fought. So the reasons that these couples would engage in fighting, the topics they fought about, how they fought, and then they tracked the couples years down the road to see who stayed together and then who got divorced. And what they found was that there was nothing new under the sun. Couples tend to fight about the same things. They tend to fight about money. They tend to fight about others, like family, friends, those type of things. They tend to fight about sex, So the topics weren't different, but the way that the couples fought was an indicator of whether or not they would stay together. So this individual that was sharing this info with us recommended that we come up with some rules for fighting, because it's not whether or not you fight. Everybody fights. It's how you fight that determines whether you stay together. So I want to share those 5 rules with you, the 5 rules that me and my wife follow. And these rules don't have to be the same for you. You and your spouse can come up with a different set of rules, 5 rules, 10 rules, whatever you decide to come up with, as long as you both agree with them and you stick with them and you agree to commit to these things over the course of your marriage. Okay, so number 1 for me and my wife. For us, it was name calling. So during an argument, we are not allowed to call each other names. Okay, this includes everything from bad names all the way down to stupid, idiot, those kind of things. There's 0 name calling during a fight. Okay, rule number 2. So rule number 2 is no cursing. So as tempers tend to flare, voices go up, cursing early on in our marriage, I had an issue with cursing and my wife would just cut off the conversation. So I had to learn how to master that, not cursing during our fights, so I can engage her in conversation. But that's been an ongoing rule for both of us. During an argument, we don't curse normally, but early on, this one was just for me, but we have followed it ever since as well. Rule number 3, we don't use the terms always or never. Okay, now this is probably one of the most important rules, probably top 3, because what it does when you say always or never is it expands the argument to a broader spectrum of time and subjects, right? So for instance, if my wife makes me an omelet and I go, this omelet is salty. Talking about this omelet today, this omelet right here, this bite of this omelet very specifically. And then the tendency is for her to go, so you're saying I can't cook. You're saying I don't ever cook anything good. No, I'm talking about very specifically this bite of this omelet. And it helps focus the discussion and the argument on the current thing. Our tendency to win arguments and to kind of ratchet things up is to broaden that spectrum. And then we start building a way to create bitterness and insult and contempt, which is one of the biggest indicators of divorce as you kind of travel through life together. So can't say always and you can't say never. We keep the arguments very specific. Rule number 4, we always end up in the same bed. Okay, so there's no sleeping on the couch. There's no going to a friend's house. There's no driving all night to get your thoughts together. Even when we're fighting, we always end up in the same bed. Now, that doesn't mean that we've made up by the time we're in bed. Sometimes our feet won't touch, our legs won't touch, our toes won't touch. That's an indicator of whether we're ready to apologize yet. Do your toes start to touch? But we always end up in the same bed every night. And what that does is it keeps you in proximity to each other, and it increases the likelihood that you're going to finish that discussion, finish the fight, right? Puts you in an environment where you can't escape it and you can't distract from it. And it tends to force you to finish out that discussion or that topic so you end up at a resolution. And then lastly, rule number 5. In our marriage, we don't use the D word. We don't say divorce. Divorce is not an option. It's not a possibility. It is not on the table for either one of us. And to be honest, I've got 8 kids. Like, I couldn't afford to go anywhere anyway. That's the joke that I tell my wife. So I can't afford to leave you. So where am I going to go? But when you remove that from the equation, it again kind of forces you, it pigeonholes you into a place where, well, I'm not going anywhere, so I guess we have to figure this out, right? It's very, very useful. I've known couples who have kind of thrown that word around where that's a possibility, it's on the table as an option. Well, maybe we should just call it off. If it's not an option, then it brings you back to the table to finish that discussion, and it motivates you to try and resolve it in a way that is positive, because you know you're not leaving, so you want that time to be as joyful as possible, right? So for me, in my marriage, 25 years, 8 children, those are the 5 rules that we follow. It's not a prescription again, but my advice to you is that you, in your marriage, come up with a set of rules for fighting to make sure that those fights are effective and that they help you reach a resolution. Hopefully down the road, that can lead to a long, happy marriage over time. And I wish you all the best. This is Mike Tango Whiskey, all clear.